never give out your password. They are not going to contact you. And if you lose the keys to your wallet, you are out of luck. There's no reset your password. You could actually see all of the crypto that's locked in that wallet
that no one can access ever.
I knew it was going to change the financial systems as they are, and you better get involved or you're going to be left behind.
Yeah, we're at the same juncture as where the internet was in 1999.
Any of you listeners work at a big company, I could almost guarantee, even if you don't know it, there's someone at your company talking about blockchain technology or digital assets.
Any industry.
What you do in those early days really could set the tone for how an entire matter is handled. Get involved. Try to enter it in one way or another. Don't be scared that you don't know the jargon, that you don't know the technology. You're already there. You're listening to this podcast. Join a network. You don't want to be left on the sidelines.
Welcome to Stacked, the show that helps you become your own best asset. Because in case you missed it, you're allowed to have a high vibe and a high net worth. Greer Griffith, are you ready to get stacked?
Ready.
All right, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you on Stacked. Real conversations for ambitious women about money, entrepreneurship, wellness, and of course, cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Our aim is to give listeners a calm, practical framework so that they can use these tools every single day. So welcome to Stacked, the show that helps you become your own best asset. Today, we are going inside's crypto courtroom with Greer Griffith, a partner and leader in the fintech and blockchain litigation. Greer sits at the center of some of the industry's biggest cases and investigations, from bankruptcies to enforcement. And today, she's giving us the playbook, what triggers regulators, how to protect yourself before there's a subpoena, and why keys, custody, and calm isn't just tech hygiene, it's legal hygiene. If you build, invest, or even hold assets in the space, this episode is your legal first aid kit. All right, so let's give a little bit of background about Greer. So Greer is a partner at McDermott Will Schulte, a top 25 international law firm and leader of McDermott's fintech and blockchain practice. She holds a law degree and a Master of Public Administration from the University of Pennsylvania. Greer is at the center of multiple complex and high-profile crypto litigations and investigations worth hundreds of millions of dollars in fiat and crypto, involving some of the biggest players and entities in the industry. Her team has led more significant crypto litigations, both generally and bankruptcy-focused, than any other law firm, and is one of the few groups in the world that is ranked by the chambers in crypto asset disputes. McDermott's crypto team represents companies and individuals in all aspects of blockchain-related legal, regulatory, and compliance matters. They regularly defend clients in enforcement actions brought by nearly every major federal, criminal, and regulatory body, as well as state banking and securities regulators across the country. The team also advises on all types of crypto transactions, including fund formation, token launches, token sales, capital market offering, and venture and private equity investments.
Thanks for the great sales pitch.
That was a mouthful. I mean, so I know what a lot of those words mean, but I think like most of our listeners, they maybe understand some of those words. And, you know, the goal of like bringing you here today on the podcast is to really pull back the curtain and make a lot of what you do and some of the more complexities of the space super digestible. And, you know, before we get into it, I just wanted to say, like, you guys all know I'm super passionate about the crypto and the Bitcoin space and really finding a way to make it more accessible to everyday people, specifically women. And
there's not a lot of us.
There's not a lot of us in the space. And I think I'm just like, I'm so excited to have you on here today because you are a woman in the space.
It's an honor. Thank you.
And, you know, historically, it's been a very mysterious industry. People aren't always willing to open up and talk about it, just generally in the space, and then also, you know, from the legal side of things. So I think I'm so excited to have you here and just dive right in. So thank you for being here.
Great. Before getting started, I do have to say the quick obligatory legal disclaimer, which is that everything we're going to chat about today is general information, not legal or investment advice.
Noted. All right, so let's go, I want to go back to the beginning. I want to get to know you, unpack who you are for our readers. Where did you grow up? What was your family life like? And then how did you get into law?
Sure. So grew up outside of Philadelphia, one of the suburbs out there.
Okay.
Went to Penn State for undergrad, and then had a pretty traditional path into the legal world.
Okay.
Went to Penn Law School, and because I love my studies at the same time, got my master's of public administration at the University of Pennsylvania. After graduating from law school, I spent my first year clerking for a federal U.S. District Court judge. For those not as familiar with law, that basically means a 1-year boot camp, learning how judges think, how the courtroom works, how decisions are made. From there, I went to what we call affectionately in the law world, big law, which is basically the major leagues of the legal world. Think large corporate law firms handling some of the most complex, high-stakes legal work for major companies and financial institutions around the world. Huge deals, media-grabbing lawsuits, major investigations, and the like.
So you're on a big team and a very corporate setting. You were in New York City at this point in time?
Yeah, so I've always been based in New York City, but the firms are global.
Okay.
My firm in particular, as you said, McDermott Will Schulte, has offices around the world, including one right here in Brickell, and the one I'm based in New York City. But any excuse to come down to Miami, I'll take.
We will have you anytime. Anytime. All right, so you go straight from undergrad into law school. You do the traditional path. You end up in big law. You're in just kind of like a general focus.
Yeah, so the way big law works is there are a lot of different specialty practice areas. Think healthcare, M&A, tax, and then the one I started out in, which is litigation and investigations, white-collar defense.
Okay. Very exciting, very niche. And now, so you were in this space for how many years?
I've been practicing in law now over, I think it's around 11 years.
11 years.
And I first got introduced to crypto in 2017.
Okay, so you're in the white-collar criminal defense, not at all touching crypto.
Right.
What was what's the turning point from going to, traditional kind of, I don't want to say boring law, but just like normal law? How do you end up now in crypto?
Sure. So I actually started first as an investor in the space.
Okay.
Before becoming a crypto lawyer. So back in 2017, I started to hear about crypto from two people near and dear to my heart that I'm very close with. One, my brother, a crypto investment banker at Moelis & Company.
Okay.
And the other, my colleague and close friend at the firm, Joe Evans, who's now the head of McDermott's fintech and blockchain practice.
Okay.
And all of a sudden I'm there and I have two different men talking to me about Bitcoin, blockchain, crypto, and I say, what is this? I better get involved.
Yeah. They're like, and so I have a similar experience in the space. My dad comes from a finance background. We get into it on another episode, so I will not bore you guys here, but my dad's very much been in the space since 2013. One of his analysts called it out, a Fibonacci sequence. He flags it, and he's just down the rabbit hole on Bitcoin. So I've been hearing about it for almost 15 years at this point. One of my brothers, same thing. He gets really into the space, really passionate about Bitcoin, crypto, all of it, blockchain. So it's like you start hearing things enough around you. You eventually you're like, okay, what is this? Like, I cannot tune these people out anymore. I kind of need to start learning something about it because they're so passionate about it. There's got to be something there.
Right. I jumped right down that rabbit hole. Wanted to learn how the technology worked, who the players are, what crypto is, how I could get involved.
What were some of the resources you went to? Back in 2017, there wasn't a ton of information out there.
Asking. Friends, contacts.
Yeah.
Joe, Grant, two people
just
I mentioned.
People.
And then just Google. Start reading everything that's out there.
So you really
White papers.
You really took your own education. You took it into your own hands and just advocated for yourself.
Yes, and one of the most surprising aspects for me as a lawyer, which is what eventually led to my legal practice in the space, is how there really was not laws and regulations out there that were addressing this area.
At that point in time, there were no laws and regulations. It was literally like the wild, wild west. And in many instances, it still is.
Which spotted the need.
Yes.
You know, as a lawyer, you realize that if it's not there, it's going to appear.
Yes.
It's going to develop, and people are going to need help.
Yes.
Courts are going to need to understand what's happening. Clients are going to need assistance. And so we decided to jump in at my firm.
Okay. So back to Joe Evans, you're kind of, I guess we call him like a mentor figure to you.
Yes, head of the group.
He was not practicing in the space at that point in time.
He was practicing. He was
practicing.
Yes. So he was actually the founder of the group.
Okay.
He's been in since don't quote me on exact dates.
Quote you.
2013 maybe?
Okay. Yeah.
Very early in the space.
Same time as my dad. There was a whole crop of them back in that juncture. Okay. So what did you realized, a couple different things. You're learning as much as you can. You're diving into this industry head first. These people you respect are really passionate about it. What were kind of like the two things that you learned that really propelled your decision and desire to take the space seriously?
Sure. So I knew it was going to change the financial systems as they are. And you better get involved or you're going to be left behind. Yeah. And I knew that it was going to be here to stay.
Yeah.
There was going to be a lot of changes, but crypto, blockchain, it wasn't going to go anywhere.
It's not. I mean, I feel exactly the same way. If we look at the adoption rate today of crypto and Bitcoin, we're at the same juncture as where the internet was in 1999. So if we look at where the internet was in 1999 and we just see this explosive growth to where we are today, it's you got to get in or there's no time sooner than now. So, okay, let's talk about your team. What do you do? I think a lot of people, at least in the ones I talk to, especially Miami's becoming such a financial capital of the world. And in a lot of instances, people consider it the crypto capital of the world. And I talk to a lot of women specifically who they're curious about the space. They want they're interested in a career. They just don't even know how to start or where to begin. So I'd love to kind of pull back the curtain on what do you do every day? What does your team do every day? What does it look like? Obviously, law, you're in, do we say big law?
Big law.
You're still in big law, but you have the crypto focus. So can you just kind of walk us through what does it look like? What does your everyday look like?
So no 2 days are the same, which is one of my favorite things about practicing in this space. But every day is different, but touches on crypto, blockchain, technology. Really anything that's happening in this world, we do. So I can run down the laundry list. You covered a lot of them in the beginning. But think helping companies acquire crypto companies, investigations, responding to government enforcement actions, trust charters, custody issues, money transmitter license and other state license, fund formation, token launches, deals, helping entities and people recover crypto when it's stolen or things go wrong, bankruptcies. We are huge in the bankruptcy space.
Yeah.
A lot of different things as you could hear, which is why our team is so large.
Yeah.
So our team and what makes it so special and so unique in this industry is now a lot of big law firms are trying to get into the space, but they're new. They themselves are catching up on what the jargon means, what the industry is. For our team, almost everyone here is in the space themselves before becoming a lawyer in it, including a lot of people who got into it even before me. They're the pre-2017 OGs.
Yes. Let's go backwards. For those who are newer to the space, we keep hearing a lot of words that we're using a lot of words that are very familiar to us, but maybe not to some of our listeners. I think those words are, I would say, Bitcoin, blockchain, stablecoins. We're seeing them all over the place. Let's take these in pieces. So what is Bitcoin?
Okay, so think about Bitcoin as the actual asset. That's why it's called a digital asset. It's a type of cryptocurrency. There's thousands of different types of cryptocurrency. Bitcoin and Ethereum are probably two of the most popular and well-known in the space. Some fun facts about Bitcoin: it's limited in supply. That's what makes it so valuable. There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin. It's valuable because people know it, they trust it, they believe it's going to have value. That's why, as most of you listening in probably know, the value has skyrocketed. It's also decentralized. What does that term mean? It means it's not controlled by any one single entity. There's no bank, government, single company that's controlling it.
So there can never be more Bitcoin created, and then at the same time, it also can't be destroyed.
Correct.
What is a common misconception about Bitcoin?
So one of the things I hear most frequently from my friends is, I missed the boat.
Yeah.
It's now so expensive to own a Bitcoin. I mean, I know today it was hovering around in the 90s,
Yep.
but recently it's been above the 100K, and they say, I'm not rich, I can't buy a Bitcoin. Who has
Right.
100K laying around?
Right.
They don't understand you could buy fractions of a Bitcoin. You could get involved with just a couple dollars, buy a portion of it, and become a player in this space.
Dollar cost averaging is another great option where you pick a US denomination, a certain amount that you're going to invest, and depending on what the value of the Bitcoin is that day, that's how much Bitcoin you're buying. So instead of thinking about it in terms of like the value of the Bitcoin, you could think about it in terms of US dollars, and you're buying fractional pieces. So there's a lot of different ways to think about getting into the space, and it's not necessarily buying a whole coin. Okay, next question is, what is blockchain?
Sure. So blockchain is the underlying technology that allows crypto, digital assets, Bitcoin to exist. The way to think about it is to think about it like an open digital record book or digital ledger that everyone could see and no one could alter unless everyone else that's looking at it agrees to it being altered. So let's break that down a bit more. Every time there's a transaction, what's a transaction? Think sending Bitcoin from me to you, minting an NFT. It becomes a new publicly available entry. These entries are then grouped into what we call blocks, which are then locked in and linked to previous blocks in chronological time order, forming a chain. This is why it's called a blockchain. All the blocks are linked together to literally form a chronological chain.
Okay. So it's kind of like, in like very, very simple terms, it's almost like if we have a public Google sheet, anyone can access, but no one can edit.
Correct. And if they do edit it, everyone needs to agree.
Every single person needs to agree.
Right.
Which is that's what's making Bitcoin and Bitcoin's blockchain technology different than, say, some of the other cryptocurrencies.
Exactly. And what we're talking about here with that approval, the technical jargon for that is called verification.
Okay.
So instead of relying on one big company or bank's database, a network of computers check each new transaction. And when they check it and confirm it's valid, that's what verification is. And no block could be added to the chain until it's verified.
Okay. So now this brings us to stable coins. What is a stable coin?
Sure. So stable coins are the formal way of describing it, a type of crypto whose value is pegged to that of a reference asset, most commonly a US dollar.
Okay.
Basically, you should think about it as the digital dollar.
Okay.
Its price is not volatile. It doesn't fluctuate. It's stable. What does that mean? Stable coins are what you want to use if you're making everyday purchases.
Okay.
You don't want to be the person that you hear about in the war stories that bought a pizza for $10 that's now worth $10 million
Right.
because you use crypto to buy it.
Right.
Stable coins keep things stable.
Okay. That makes sense. So I'm not going to want to use like my Bitcoin to go buy something. I'm going to want to use a stable coin to make more of like an everyday transaction.
Right. And another benefit of stable coins is you could do it 24/7. It's not like your more traditional financial transfers where you need a bank to be open.
Right.
It could take a couple days for a wire transfer to go through. These could happen nearly instantaneously all around the world. So big change to the way money's transferred.
Okay. I mean, huge change and at like lightning speed, right?
Yeah.
So let's go back to your career, your day-to-day life. What is it like practicing in the crypto space? Obviously, we talked about you being one of the very few women.
So I work with a lot of men.
What is that like?
It's fun. The people in the space are great. They're curious.
Yeah.
They're brilliant. They're innovators. It's one of the most collegial group of people, both clients and colleagues, that I've ever worked with. They're also, myself included, curious, flexible.
Yeah.
This industry does not attract those that are stuck thinking in a certain way. You have to be comfortable with the unknown.
Right.
The laws, the regulations, they're constantly evolving, constantly developing. I mean, the SEC chairman just issued a statement yesterday. We just have to be monitoring and adjusting as we go, which helps our clients. So they could focus on actually building the technology and innovating while we're keeping up with the regulatory and the legal guidance.
Right, of course. I mean, 2025 has been a huge year for regulation, legislative changes in the crypto space. What is that all about? Kind of like in summary, what's going on? Is this a good thing for the industry? What are your thoughts there?
In my opinion, absolutely. My theme for the year, stolen phrase, given one of the recent legislative developments that's pending in the Senate, is clarity, but it's really the truth. The government is working on providing more guidelines, more guide rails, more legislation that lets those in the industry know what's happening and to provide clarity. For a while now, the industry and those in the market have been less guessing as to what the next regulatory action is going to be, and left deciphering from the actions that have taken place what the rules are. So now we're in an era where we're actually getting guidance from the government. So some examples, you might have heard these in the news, the Genius Act. The Genius Act was passed in July of this year, and it's providing the first robust federal regime for stablecoins, which we just chatted about. Clarity Act, still pending, but that's aiming to provide clarity around what different regulatory bodies will govern different types of digital assets. Think SEC versus CFTC. What are digital assets classified? A security, a commodity? Neither.
Okay. I mean, I think it's exciting. I think it just continuous movement on the legislative front around anything in the cryptocurrency space. I feel like for those of us that work in the space, it continues to further legitimize it and just kind of prove that we are in the right place, we're going in the right direction. This industry is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And if anything, nobody likes new laws or taxes or regulations, but at the end of the day, these are all designed to create more consistency, more stability, and more really safety for us as the consumer at the end of the day.
And it's going to drive more big players from the more traditional spaces into the industry.
And I think we're already seeing that. I feel like 2025 has been a huge change, like just the number of financial firms that are starting to change some of their policies around either investments in the space, setting up ETFs, even releasing their own stable coins and tokenization. So I think this is probably, in my opinion, been one of the most exciting years for the space. Maybe not 2025, maybe not in terms of, price growth on some of the coins. It's been relatively stable, but in terms of policy changes and more institutional players getting involved, it's probably like one of the biggest, it is the biggest year to date.
If any of you listeners work at a big company, I could almost guarantee, even if you don't know it, there's someone at your company talking about blockchain technology or digital assets.
Any industry, whether you work for an airline, a retailer, a CPG brand, a tech company, there is something going on behind the scenes with a lot of blockchain, cryptocurrency, regulation, transactions. This is not going anywhere.
Right, and that's another misconception when we were chatting about Bitcoin. One with blockchain technology is that it only has to do with crypto. That's just not true. Really, it's just a safe and transparent way to record transactions. So if you think about how that could change so many industries, think about if you're able to track a supply chain through the blockchain. Things like this are really revolutionizing the way that even non-crypto companies are adapting to the new technology.
It's essentially an open source, like almost like a fossil or like DNA type system that tracks everything, which, love it or hate it, that's the direction the world is moving in, you know, between, I'm not going to go off on a tangent here, but that's the direction the world is moving in. Everything's recorded, and now to have a paper trail of transactions or just history you have to either get in or you're going to be left behind.
Which is why it's so important for women to get involved in the space.
And just learn, like, it's not even about making an investment or making a purchase. Like, the first step really truly is education, tuning into a podcast episode like this, reading a book, talking to people, just starting to get familiar with these words that seem mysterious and big and scary, and until they start to feel a little more comfortable and not so intimidating. I think that's really the first step. And also, like, you don't want to make an investment or make a decision on a space that you don't know anything about. So really just education and learning and familiarity is really the best thing you can do.
And you're doing the first step there if you're still listening.
You are. So you guys are doing great. We're so proud of you. Your Bitcoin and crypto girlies are we're rooting for you. And don't tune out yet. Okay, so can we talk about, like, your predictions for the future? I know you can't say too much. You have some limitations, but, like, let's throw that out the window for a minute. If you could, like, have a crystal ball and look into the future, like, what do you think is on the horizon going into 2026? This episode probably isn't going to drop until early 2026, so we'll pretend that we're, you know, thinking about mid to end of 2026 going into 2027. What do you think is on the forefront there?
So besides Bitcoin continuing to go to the moon, from a legal perspective, I'll say enforcement-wise, I think the focus, what we've been seeing and what I anticipate we're going to keep seeing more of, is a focus on real fraud, market manipulation, money laundering, real people who lost money. There still is going to be those traditional failure to register cases, but they're going to be more far and few and in between than I think those focused on the victims. Another prediction, I think we're going to continue to see more companies IPO.
More crypto companies will continue to IPO. Okay.
I also think there's going to be some consolidation that occurs. I think there's a lot of different crypto companies in the space right now, and we're already starting to see a bunch of acquisitions.
It's very fragmented, and I think, you know, when I look at the space, so how I'm involved in the space, and I know you know a little bit about this, and I'll touch on it for our listeners, is I look at really specifically Bitcoin native investments with my family. And in looking at, you know, tens of, almost probably over 100 different companies, there's not a lot of, I don't want to say, how do I say this? We'll snip this part out, but the space is so young, and the people that got involved into the crypto and the Bitcoin ecosystem early on, a lot of them they don't maybe have a corporate background or professional training. So they just kind of ended up in the space. They end up running these big giant companies, or not big giant companies, but they're doing something and it's working. And there's a lot of room for efficiencies and streamlining and taking these products that exist and capturing different markets and just really honing in on, you know, better products all around. So I think there is a lot of opportunity for consolidation. I think there's a lot of great ideas out there, maybe not tons of great operators or executors. And I think, you know, it has been a pretty challenging fundraising environment for a lot of these companies the last couple of years, which isn't super surprising, because as there's more eyeballs coming on the space with the more institutional players, they're looking at these groups with like a magnifying glass, and they're not necessarily seeing the skeleton that they would expect from a non-crypto company, right? Like, it's kind of been loosey-goosey. There's not really been any rules. It's just people getting, in some ways, lucky. And I think, the more things continue to legitimize and grow and expand, there's definitely a lot of opportunity for consolidation and growth in different niches.
Absolutely. The big players are really getting in, which leads me to another prediction in that someday in the near future, I don't know if it's going to be in the next year, but in the next couple years, I think we're going to start moving from the phrase TradFi and DeFi to just the financial system.
I think so too. I mean, I tell people all the time, this is the future of finance. Like, if you are ever somebody that wanted to get into finance and you feel like you missed the boat, the cryptocurrency community, the crypto community is the new way to get into finance, like, without having necessarily all of the formal training, because it really is, you have to be self-taught before you can even start taking any action in the space. And I mean, you said it yourself with your career and your team, like, almost everybody on the team got involved personally before they then came over to work professionally in the space. And there's not like, I mean, as far as I know, there's not a degree you can get right now on blockchain or cryptocurrency.
No, law schools are starting to offer courses on it.
Yeah.
But you can't get a formal, get a formal degree on it. And you want your lawyers to also be in the space yourself. Otherwise, you're paying, to be frank, for them to learn what it is, and you don't want to be the one footing that bill. No. You want to hire people that already know this.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, next question for you is, and this is a fun one. So, like, if you or your company get a subpoena or information from a request for a regulator, what do you do? And before you answer that, like, what does that even mean? Like, if somebody sends me a subpoena or I get an information request, like, one, why would I be getting that? And what is it because I have money on an account? Like, let's start at the beginning.
Sure. So let's break that down, because it's very scary if you receive anything, a subpoena or an information request from any government body. So the first thing to do is don't panic. Take a deep breath, but recognize you do have to do something. Okay. You can't just put it away or throw it in the trash can and think no one's ever going to find you. You're just a little person, a little company. The government will find you. A regulatory body will find you. So you do have to acknowledge it. Okay. But you shouldn't panic. That's why there are lawyers in the space. That's a perfect instance, and one where it justifies the legal expense to call for help, because what you do in those early days really could set the tone for how an entire matter is handled. Okay. So we, the lawyers, not you, would reach out to the regulatory body that sent the subpoena, sent the information request, get a sense. Are you a target? Is someone else a target? And they just think you have relevant information? Do they really need all of the information that they're asking? Could we narrow the request? There's ways to think about this to get through. It's less scary than it might seem when you just get one of these. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. So I'm calling you if I ever get a subpoena or like information request from a regulator. I'm not going to know what to do, but I do know who to call.
Thanks.
Got you on speed dial.
Ready. Always working.
So for those who are new to the space, what is custody? What does self-custody mean? What are the custody choices? Like, let's break it down.
Sure. So custody basically means, where is your crypto, your Bitcoin, your Ethereum stored? Okay. And how could you access it? Okay. So the two big ways to think about that is you could store it at a custodian, like Coinbase is a very well-known one in the space, which means the custodian is storing your Bitcoin and the access to it. Or you could store it, and here comes the jargon, in a self-hosted digital wallet, which means you and you alone control access to it via passwords. Okay.
That makes sense. How do you pick like which one is better?
So it's a totally personal choice. Cannot advise on that, but there's some things that I could help you think about. Okay. First and foremost is you. Do you know the space? Do you understand the technology? If the answers to that are yes, it might lean towards the self-hosted digital wallet. Okay. The next factor to consider is safety, risk. How good are you at keeping your passwords. Are you the type of person that every week forgot what your Netflix password is and you're looking to reset it? If that's you, you might want to lean towards having a custodian hold your crypto. Because, and this is another famous thing that you read about in the news, in the tabloids, you hear about it, people lose keys to their wallet. And if you lose the keys to your wallet, you are out of luck. There's no reset your password if you chose to custody your crypto in a self-hosted digital wallet.
It sounds pretty risky.
Both have risks, to be fair. So if you custody with a custodian, there are risks that the custodian could get hacked, the custodian could go bankrupt, the custodian goes bankrupt, then
I mean, that's what we see a lot of on the news is the custodian goes bankrupt and people cannot access their coins anymore.
Right, and more than the accessibility, depending on how the custodian was holding your cryptocurrency, for example, was it holding it in commingled omnibus wallets that was mixing crypto, your crypto with other customers, with companies' crypto, it could mean that your crypto turns into property of the bankrupt estate, which means it could get clawed back and you'd only have a claim to it in a bankruptcy. Whereas if you're on the self-hosted digital wallet, it's your crypto. You're never getting locked out of your account. You're never having to deal with a bankruptcy proceeding with who owns your crypto. Is it the state? Is it yours? It's yours. But you can't lose those passwords.
You can't lose the password.
Right. So a big case that I've been handling for years is actually with a bankrupt entity that famously in the media lost keys to the wallet. And one of the things that I think people find the most frustrating in crypto is because the blockchain is publicly available. It's always accessible. You could go onto a website called Blockchain Explorer and see all the transactions, see the wallets. You could actually see all of the crypto that's locked in that wallet on there.
That no one can access ever.
So think about it like you see a bank vault, but you just don't have the keys, but you know all the money's in there. That's the risk if you lose your password, or what we call in the industry seed phrases, which are backup passwords.
Very frustrating. All right, let's move on. Let's do a lightning round. So first one is going to be Bitcoin or digital asset treasury. And also, what is a digital asset treasury?
Sure. So digital asset treasuries, also called DATs, hold digital assets that we've been talking about, crypto, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, on their balance sheet. And then they raise capital through stock or debt. Their valuations often move in tandem with the valuations of the crypto that it's holding. While it may seem like an easier way to invest to a lot of people, it seems like they're buying stock, which a lot of us are familiar with. It's not always the best value, because if you really break it down and think about it, you're paying for overhead when you go with the DAT option.
So do ETFs fall into this category?
So you're not getting the best bang for your buck, because you're paying for that overhead, salaries, fees, staff.
But historically, people that are not on one of these crypto exchanges in the last year and a half, 2 years, they've been able to get involved in the space by buying an ETF through a traditional stock brokerage. So that was a little bit easier, but we now see that changing coming into 2026 with a lot of the traditional brokerages opening up crypto trading on their platforms. So
many different ways to get involved. So it depends what you're looking for. Are you looking for more ease, an easy way to buy it to get into the space, or are you looking to get the most value possible?
So your answer personally for Bitcoin or DAT, which one is it?
Bitcoin.
Okay. How about next question is Bitcoin versus other crypto?
So once again, not giving investment advice, personal preference, but I always go with Bitcoin.
Me too.
If you buy Bitcoin, you hold Bitcoin. You're probably going to be happy.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Bitcoin. Not giving investment advice, but that is my personal philosophy. Definitely messed around with a few of the meme coins here and there, but that's more of like a for fun thing, not expecting anything out of it.
I have an entire NFT graveyard. One of my favorites was I bought Superman.
Oh.
At around $80. Watched it go up to around $18,000. Still holding, and it's around $8 now.
You never know. It might pick back up.
So you could have fun in the space, but like I said, buy Bitcoin if you want to be safe.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm like I call myself a Bitcoin maximalist. But we have to entertain the other cryptocurrencies kind of being in the space. I get a call or text from somebody, I don't know who, saying all of my crypto assets are frozen. What do I do?
Nothing. And it's key to do nothing.
Okay.
One of the basics in this industry, as we were chatting about with those self-hosted digital wallets or even your passwords to your crypto exchanges, is never give out your password. They are not going to contact you. And the crypto industry is full of scammers, full of fraud. I myself, probably once a week, receive a text saying, Greer, you're going to lose access to your wallet. Coinbase is shutting down if you don't provide passwords immediately. Please call this number and provide. Do not do that.
I was getting one a day for a while.
It's wild.
It's insane.
They're becoming very sophisticated and very intelligent in this area. So if you are genuinely worried or concerned, the best thing to do is to always reach out. If you have your crypto at an exchange, reach out directly through the website, the app, the formal legal challenges to ask what's happening.
And do not send anybody your passwords or your login.
Don't share it with anyone unless you're willing to never see your crypto again.
What is one thing we could tell our listener to do, in the next 24 hours coming off of this episode and our conversation talking about crypto from a legal perspective and just, I would say, the space in general?
Get involved. Try to enter it in one way or another. Don't be scared that you don't know the jargon, that you don't know the technology. You're already there. You're listening to this podcast. Join a network. There's a lot of women networks now in the space. The Association for Women in Cryptocurrency, SheFi. Come to a Brickle Babes event with a lot of crypto women there who are happy to chat with you. Or you could try out the technology yourself. So there's something called test transactions that you could do, which means you could test what it means to actually try to transfer crypto to another wallet in a very, very small amount and see if the transaction worked. So you can create a wallet, do a couple test transactions, get your feet wet. But the most important thing is to get involved. You don't want to be left on the sidelines.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. So thank you so much for coming on. It was really fun talking with you about this topic I'm super passionate about. Hopefully we had a couple of people listening today. Hopefully you guys learned something. Where can our listeners and viewers, where can they find you?
Sure. So again, my name is Greer Griffith on LinkedIn, and my contact information is also on my firm, McDermott Will Schulte's website.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This was really fun.
Thanks for having me, Emily.
Loved having you. That's a wrap on this episode of Stacked. If this one added value, share it with someone who's ready to level up their financial life. Subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, leave a rating and review. It helps us keep the show going and reach more people who are serious about becoming their own best asset. You can subscribe to our newsletter at www.stackedassets.co for weekly intel on Bitcoin markets, business, and living well. Follow along on socials at Stacked Assets or my personal at Emily Dempsey for more on Bitcoin business and building the life you actually want. I'll see you next week. Stay stacked.